Korea's capital of Seoul marks the 69th anniversary of its liberation from Japanese colonial rule. What changes has Seoul gone through in the past 69 years, and how has its economic status changed? Construction, semiconductor, and mobile phone industries have been leading Korea's economy since its independence. So what are the next generation growth engines that will lead the economy for the next 100 years? We can maintain indoor temperature of a house throughout the year without petroleum and electricity. What is the core technology of a zero-energy house? We can receive information about a store or discount coupons in real time. Let's meet the life that has become more convenient with proximity location-based beacon technology. National Liberation Day is the only common national holiday in South and North Korea. But how is its significance different in the two Koreas?
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Kane, and this is Bizline. Now, August 15th marks a very special day in Korea, and possibly the most important holiday of the year. It's National Liberation Day, and it celebrates the 69th anniversary of freedom from Japanese rule. Now, this holiday is so big in Korea that we're going to give you a special program today. As you know, Korea has really risen from the ashes since colonial rule and the Korean War. And that change has been especially marked here in Seoul, in the capital. So how did Seoul get to where it is? And where does the future lie? Let's find out.
Seoul has been the capital of Korea for the past 600 years. It is an international city where tradition and modernity coexist. It is where the Olympics were held in 1988 and the stage where world leaders gathered in 2010 to discuss the global economy. From a city of no more than ruins after a prolonged war to a place where the miracle on the Han River took place. Let's take a look at the changes in Seoul's economy since the liberation in 1945. On August 15, 1945, Korea liberated from Japanese colonial rule. Korea did not have the economic power to stand on its own feet. The situation deteriorated further after the outbreak of the Korean War. Buildings demolished by the war, countless numbers of war orphans, and shortages of food and supplies. In the 1940s to 50s, Seoul looked quite different from now. After 69 years, on August 15, 2014, 3 million vehicles are running between countless numbers of skyscrapers in Seoul. Many things have changed from the area of Seoul to its economic status. Shortly after Korea's independence in 1945, the area of Seoul stood at 136 square kilometers. After it largely expanded to nearby Gyeonggi-do province in the 1960s, Seoul has grown nearly 4 times. It is not only the size that has increased, its population also jumped to 10 million people now, rising more than 10 times from 900,000 people. Currently, 1/5 of Korea's population are living in Seoul. Among major global cities, Seoul's population grew the most rapidly in the shortest period of time.
전쟁이 끝난 1953년에 인구가 약 한 90만 명 정도밖에 되질 않았거든요. 그러면서 그 나머지 북한에서 내려온 사람들, 그다음 지방에서 일자리를 찾아서 이제 올라온 사람들이 집중적으로 몰리면서 1960년대에 벌써 245만에 이르게 됩니다. 그러니까 그 전쟁 끝나고 그 짧은 기간 동안에 거의 100만 명 이상의 인구가 집중됐고, 그 인구들을 위해서 한편으로는 전후 복구 사업을 해야 되고, 또 다른 한편으로는 새로 몰려오는 사람들을 위해서 주택을 건설하고 인프라를 건설하고 또 이제 새로운 일자리를 창출해줘야 되는 그런 이제 부담이 있었던 거죠.
Seoul only accounts for 0.6% of the Republic of Korea's total area. To accommodate a large population, it was urgent to build residences and transportation infrastructure. In line with the country's economic development plans in the 1960s and 70s, there was a massive boom in construction of apartments, roads, and bridges in Seoul. We can confirm the clear changes in images by comparing photos from the 1970s when aerial photographs of the country were taken for the first time.
그동안 70년대, 80년대를 거치면서 압구정동 지역은 그 전에는 강변 촌락지구 지역이었었는데 그동안 대규모 아파트가 들어서면서 특히 1986년 아시안게임과 1988년 올림픽을 대비해서 올림픽대로를 건설하면서 현재에 이르러서는 대규모 아파트 단지와 각종 상업용 시설이 들어있는 현재의 모습으로 변화되었습니다.
While housing penetration rate was merely 59% in 1945, its current rate is nearly 100% at 97.5%. It may not be too much to say Seoul is a forest of apartments, as it is filled with apartment buildings to accommodate a large population in a small area. In 1970, apartments took up only 3.9% of total residences in Seoul, but they are currently the most common residence type in Seoul, accounting for 60% of total houses.
강남 지역이 이제 인구가 늘어나고 각종 시설물들이 들어서면서 강남북을 연결하는 교량들이 점차 늘어나게 됩니다. 80년대를 거치면서 자동차가 급격히 늘어납니다. 그래서 거기에 맞는 교통 정책으로 각종 도로라든가 교량 그리고 간선도로 또 지하철 같은 교통수단을 중점적으로 건설하게 되어서 현재에 이르렀다고 할 수 있겠습니다.
As the number of cars increased, roads were also rapidly repaired. Roads have extended 6 times now to 8,142 kilometers from just 1,337 kilometers in 1960. The number of bridges crossing the Han River rose to 27 from merely 3 at the time of the independence. Changes in jobs of Seoul's citizens tells us how major industries have changed in Seoul. Immediately after the liberation, citizens were mostly involved in agricultural and fisheries industries, but they largely moved to work in manufacturing factories as large-scale industrial complexes were set up in Seoul in the 1960s and 70s. In the 1970s, Seoul was the center of Korea's export-oriented industries.
대규모 인구들을 집중적으로 이제 수용을 하기 위해서는 하나는 이제 우선 이제 주거지가 필요한 것이고요. 그 다음에는 이제 일자리가 필요하니까 주로 이제 지금 이제 구로 디지털 산업단지라 할 수 있는 데서 이제 구로공단이라고 계기면 산업단지가 있었고 그게 이제 그 서울의 경제 기반뿐만 아니라 한국 경제를 수출 주도형으로 끌고 가는 핵심적인 역할을 했고.
From the 1980s, manufacturing-based industrial complexes moved to the outskirts of Seoul for cheaper land. From the 1980s until now, people who work in tertiary industries, including the service industry, take up the largest portion of Seoul's population. With an enhancement in income levels, average monthly household spending in Seoul also changed.
1960년을 본다면은 근로자 가구 연평균 소득이 한 6만 원 정도밖에 안 됐습니다. 그런데 2013년에는 근로자 가구의 연평균 소득이 4,900만 원, 거의 5천만 원 가까이 되는 거거든요. 그래서 이 기간 동안에 본다면은 53년 동안에 한 813배가 늘었습니다. 굉장히 저희가 어떻게 보면은 잘 살게 된 거죠. 이제 그거에 따라서 그 지출 항목도 큰 변화를 가지고 있습니다.
Average monthly household spending in Seoul rose to $2,825 now from $24 in 1968. When we look at household spending in detail, food cost has been falling steadily, while spending in education, transportation, and communications, as well as cultural and recreational expenses, has been increasing. We can assume that Seoul citizens' life patterns have been changing along with the improvement in their income levels.
일단은 소득이 증가하는 거에 따라서 그만큼 사람들이 쓸 수 있는 여력이 일단은 많고요. 그 다음에 저희가 경제가 발전하게 됨에 따라서 문화적으로 이제 향유할 수 있는 그런 것들이 좀 많죠. 그래서 뭐 외식을 많이 한다든지 영화를 본다든지 그리고 주 5일제가 또 이제 실시가 됐습니다. 그래서 사람들이 여가를 즐길 수 있는 그런 여유가 생겼기 때문에 소득의 지출 변화도 그거에 자연스럽게 맞게 변화가 됐다고 생각이 됩니다.
If Seoul has been leading the economic growth quantitatively in the past, it is picturing itself of becoming a model of creative economy in the future by fostering tourism, smart technology, and mobile convergence industries.
그 서울시는 세계에서 보기 드물게 아주 지식 산업이나 지식 종사자들이 많은 도시입니다. 가령 서울시의 대학교가 60개가 넘습니다. 그리고 대기업의 R&D 센터, 연구소가 굉장히 많은 분야고요. 이들 그 석박사가 엄청나게 많기 때문에 이들을 다시 창조적 전문 인력으로 기업 활동을 할 수 있도록 또는 뭐 다른 R&D나 연구 활동을 할 수 있도록 지원해 주는 것을 목표로 하고 있습니다.
국제 금융이라든지 관광 그리고 이제 각종 비즈니스 서비스도 있죠. 이제 그 법률이라든지 회계라든지 엔지니어링이라든지 이런 고차원 서비스를 전 세계를 대상으로 그러니까 제공해서 지식을 팔아먹고 사는 도시가 돼야 서울이 새로운 경쟁력을 가진 도시가 될 수 있지 않을까 이렇게 생각을 합니다.
Seoul's economic changes in the 69 years after the country's independence symbolically shows us Korea's economic growth. Now, Seoul aims to become more than just the capital of Korea. It is moving forward to become a global stage where people from around the world visit for tourism and business purposes.
South Korea may be highly successful today, but only 70 years ago it was quite a war-ravaged and poor country thanks to the Korean War and the Japanese occupation before that. It wasn't until the past few decades that Korea climbed out of poverty, industrialized, and really put its companies out there for the world. Now we have Samsung and Hyundai, they're everywhere. They make everything from chips to ships, and they're looking for new growth areas. But why now? After all the success, why does Korea need to look for something new to do, something new to sell to the world? Companies are looking at smart semiconductors, smart cars, green energy, but nobody knows exactly where the future lies. We're joined today by Professor Ian Ho, a professor of economics at Seoul National University. He's going to talk with us about how South Korea got here and what's next. Professor, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So to start, can you just explain for our audience how the miracle on the Han River happened?
I think it was very important that people were very strongly determined to make economic development from the early period on. Given that precondition, there were two factors which played a very critical role. The first one is human capital, and the second one is efficient bureaucracy system. So we all know that Korea had almost no capital to work with. And because of that, we had to start from almost scratch. But on the other hand, people were very enlightened to emphasize the education for their offspring. For instance, right after the Korean War, the country was really poor. However, Korean parents never neglected educating their children in the best way. And then the society was quite unstable until the beginning of 1960s, at which time military dictatorship took control. And the military dictatorship had some pros and cons, but at least he was quite smart enough to develop efficient bureaucracy system to organize economic plans, and that is very crucial for the development of Korea in a very fast speed.
So it sounds like South Korea has quite a lot. An educated population, highly educated in fact, and a highly efficient bureaucracy that can get things done. So why is it necessary now, despite all the success, for the country to look for a new area for growth?
We have to look at ourselves from the past. First of all, we got here by catching up developed countries, and we are under the same threat by followers. So we have to get prepared for those threats by challenges by our followers. And thanks to the technological development and globalization, the speed at which our followers catch up is getting faster and faster. So unless we prepare something for ourselves soon, we'll be taken over. That's the problem we face.
Who are these followers that you're mentioning?
The first name that comes to my mind is China, and then some Southeast Asian countries, and India, for instance, and there are many of them, and typically we call them BRICS or emerging market.
So let's take one case study, Samsung Electronics. Samsung is the largest smartphone maker in the world by sales, yet it faces a threat from Huawei, Lenovo, Chinese companies, and perhaps even Indian companies.
Yes.
What can a company like Samsung do for its growth?
They have to find their strength. For instance, the competition is getting stronger, but that doesn't mean that all the incumbent firms will collapse. For instance, look at the automobile market. The automobile market is very competitive among few very big players in the world. However, German cars are doing very well because of their quality. So the way Samsung can maintain its outstanding position is by keeping the good quality of their products.
Now, Korean companies like Hyundai and Samsung aren't just strong in making the end products, but they also supply the parts. And this is a strength, no?
I think that's part of the strength, but we have to look at the problem from slightly different perspective, though. For instance, Apple is not producing all of its components as well as the product itself. Instead, they are making good ideas which will be sort of given out to outsourcers who do the jobs. And the point is the biggest share from the contribution or the production goes to the idea bearer, not the manufacturer. So instead of trying to do the whole thing under one umbrella, it's better to concentrate on something that is important and crucial, and then you want to delegate the rest to more cheaper places or the more better labor supply.
You mentioned smart cars earlier as a possible future growth area. You mentioned that German cars are doing quite well. But what about, for the giants, for LG, Hyundai, Samsung, the global companies, what other areas could they look into with the help of the government? I mean, companies are looking at wearables,
Yes.
green energy,
Yes.
displays.
Yes.
Are there any others?
There are many areas, but I try not to pick on particular items, partly because innovation is the keyword here, and innovation is a matter of luck. That doesn't mean that we should buy lottery and pray. We have to make the best effort. However, predicting the area of innovation, the next breakthrough, is really a matter of speculation. So I wouldn't do that. But having said that, the areas you mentioned would be reasonable targets for innovation.
The Korean government has announced 13 new growth engines. These include smart semiconductors, 5G data networks, big data, all sorts of different areas that are growing in Korea but haven't quite matured yet. What do you think about these growth engines? Are these realistic?
Being selective in this strategy is a reasonable one. And the target areas seem also reasonable. If you look into the list, you find that most of them are from IT or energy. One big area that is missing is biotech, but probably that reflects our strength and weakness. So the IT technology is a good candidate in the sense that our young generation is quite comfortable with the technology, and our labor market is well prepared for those jobs. And moreover, we have good infrastructure for information technology thanks to the recent development in mobile communication. And finally, the world seems prepared for even better products, so that if we produce something new, the demand is going to be there. But I'd like to emphasize that due to the unpredictable nature of innovation, we really should not neglect what is missing in the list. And moreover, basic research is quite important in keeping our potential for growth in every direction.
So why do you think biotech was not included on this list? Does it reflect an area that Korean companies might not be as strong in?
Probably that is a correct assessment. I cannot think of one big name, one really modern pharmaceutical company, a Korean company that is working hard.
Some chaebol they have actually listed biotech as one of their future growth engines. But do you think that this is a realistic way to go? Is the biotech industry already saturated?
No, not really. But chaebol, as I understand, is trying to insure themselves against risk in all directions. So to buy insurance, they may want to spend some money at the moment as a premium, but I'm not sure whether they are making the best progress out of the area.
Professor Ian Ho, thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
How do you feel about a fishing trip that doesn't require going to the river or the sea? The app of the week is Ace Fishing, a game that more than 16 million people around the world have downloaded. Let's choose the right equipment and start fishing. Once the game starts, your device will vibrate whenever you adjust the fishing line or the fish starts to bite to give you a sense of reality. The app three-dimensionally reproduces over 200 existing species of fish, along with famous and beautiful overseas fishing places. Users are giving positive reviews across borders, as the app also hosts a fishing competition and ranks users from around the globe. Now, let's find out how good you are at fishing.
Now here in Korea, the summers are awfully hot, and it's understandable that people would turn on their air conditioning every summer. But that uses a lot of electricity, and every year, the government has trouble keeping up with the demand. But there's a new house. It's called a zero energy house, and its developers promise that it will cut energy use in the city. In fact, they say that it uses zero energy, hence the name. You can turn on your electricity, use your air conditioning or heat without any energy, or you could even cook without using fuel. So how does it work? Let's take a look.
Energy conservation has become an issue of top priority around the world, and the construction industry is looking for ways to build houses that can minimize energy consumption. Thus, an era has opened for the so-called zero-energy house that can reduce carbon emission from the use of fossil fuel. Oil prices continue to rise and fear of blackouts is becoming pervasive in the summertime. Energy policy is rising as an important issue around the world. Unfortunately, the amount of energy consumed in a household is rising. A research conducted by the U.S. Department of Energy shows that the majority of the energy consumed at home is concentrated on cooling and heating space. Therefore, a zero-energy house is being welcomed as the environmental-friendly home of the future. In Korea, construction companies and the Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology have been working since 2008 to develop such technology to commercialize zero-energy houses.
건축적으로 에너지 손실을 최소화시키고 그리고 모자라는 그 에너지를 신재생 에너지로 공급을 해서 그 건물에서 소비되는 에너지를 그 궁극적으로는 제로화시키는 건물을 이제 제로 에너지 하우스라고 얘기하고 있습니다.
In June last year, an apartment building was constructed as a prototype zero-energy building. The 8-story building is called Zero Carbon Green Home, and a passive technology of insulation was applied on the building from the construction stage.
패시브 시스템은 건물의 창호라든가 벽체의 그 단열을 향상시켜서 건물 내에서 손실되는 에너지를 최소화시키는 그러한 그 기능을 하게 되고요. 액티브 시스템은 건물에서 필요로 하는 에너지를 공급을 해서 사용하는 에너지를 그 제로화시킬 수 있는 그러한 이제 신재생 에너지를 의미를 하고 있습니다.
Unlike a regular house, the building is designed with layers of vacuum glazing windows and blinds that are installed on the outer wall to minimize heat loss to maintain a constant indoor temperature. It also has a heat recovery ventilator which recycles heat in the air and maintains indoor temperatures at above 20 degrees during the winter.
이 건물을 단열과 고기밀화 시켰기 때문에 신선한 공기를 공급해줘야 되는 환기 시스템이 별도로 필요로 하게 됩니다. 그래서 실내의 공기가 밖으로 나가고 외부에 신선한 공기가 들어오면서 서로 열이 교환될 수 있도록 함으로써 실내에 들어오는 열이 일정 온도 이상 공급이 되어서 에너지도 절약을 하면서 신선한 공기를 공급을 해서 실내를 쾌적하게 유지할 수 있는 시스템이 폐열 환기 시스템이라고 말씀드릴 수 있습니다.
Not only that, the building can produce necessary energy through solar and other renewable energy sources, which is the application of active house technology. After running the building for 1 year, it proved to save heating costs by about 80% when compared with a regular house, and electricity use was saved by about 90%.
아무래도 이제 제로 에너지 빌딩을 달성하기 위해서는 초기 비용이 늘게 될 수밖에 없는데 총 공사비는 한 20% 정도 증가하지만 에너지 절감 효과에 약 그 85% 정도의 에너지 절감 효과를 달성할 수 있기 때문에 초기 투자 비용에 대한 회수 기간을 약 한 10년에서 한 15년 이내에 달성할 수 있는 것으로 저희는 이제 그 평가를 하고 있습니다.
Following the zero carbon green home, which saves energy use by more than 80%, there is even a building aiming for 100% zero energy consumption. Other than passive technology for minimum energy use, it also uses geothermal heating and cooling systems. Geothermal heating and cooling system is constructed by installing pipes in the holes made on ground and circulating water.
여름에는 열교환기를 통해서 차가운 땅속에 있는 차가운 온도를 그 열 교환해서 차갑게 해가지고 여기 냉방을 하게 되고요. 겨울에는 히트 펌프라는 것을 통해서 밑에 이제 그 밖에 상온은 차가운데 땅속은 더 따뜻한 그 열원을 이용해서 히트 펌프로 해서 더 높은 온도를 만들어서 이 난방을 하게끔 그렇게 되어 있습니다.
Geothermal heating and cooling systems can maintain room temperatures between 24 and 26 degrees in the summer and about 18 to 20 degrees in the winter. Moreover, electricity is produced using the solar system so the building is self-sufficient. By using geothermal and solar energy systems, the building aims to pay no money for electricity bills.
태양광에서 발전된 에너지를 드림센터에서 소비를 하고요. 이제 남은 거는 이제 한국전력공사를 통해서 이제 판매를 하게끔 돼 있고요. 이제 부족할 때는 한국전력공사에서 전기를 받아다가 저희가 사용을 하게 돼 있습니다. 그래서 이제 저희가 1년 동안에 평균적으로 953kWh를 365일 동안 생산을 한 그런 발전량이 되겠습니다.
Through various passive technologies and active technology, utilizing renewable energy, the Zero Energy House is becoming the pioneer of energy conservation. For now, the cost of constructing such zero-energy houses is more expensive than building a regular house, but in the long term, it has a merit in energy cost reduction.
지구 환경적으로도 유리하고 그다음에 그 에너지를 절감해서 결국 관리 비용을 절감할 수 있다는 측면, 그다음에 쾌적한 실내 환경을 유지할 수 있는 측면에서 모두에게 유리하고 또 이러한 그 제로 에너지 빌딩은 하나의 새로운 패러다임을 가져올 수 있는 이런 영역이기 때문에 우리가 이것을 좀 더 조기에 활성화하기 위한 그런 노력들을 더 경주할 필요가 있다고 보여집니다.
The application of the technology for zero-energy house will become mandatory in 2019 in Europe and in 2025 in Korea. And research on technologies to realize zero-energy house will open an era of carbon-free environment.
In the world of ICT, there's a hot new technology called Beacon. It's a tool based on Bluetooth that basically uses your location. You can use it for making a mobile payment, or you could even find directions in your car. So how is Beacon making life more convenient, and how can we use it? Let's find out.
The commercialization of Beacon, a real-time location recognition service equipped with advanced technology and the top features, is now the most talked about technology in the business world. Let's find out how Beacon can change the way people do marketing, advertising, financing, and even healthcare. A young man in his 20s is walking down the street of a shopping district in Shinsadong, Seoul. Although he is very much interested in the latest fashion, he can't take his eyes off from his smartphone to look at the displays. That is because his attention is grabbed by events and coupons being sent to his phone. With this mobile social commerce service app, he automatically receives information from promotions and events from nearby stores as he passes through.
이 어플을 사용함으로써 저한테 정말 많은 이득이 있더라고요. 예를 들어서 친구랑 커피숍에 갔는데 한 잔을 주문했는데 한 잔 더 서비스로 준다던가 아니면 할인을 받는다는 것 자체가 저한테도 좋고 함께 있던 친구한테도 뭔가 좋은 것 같아서 그런 이유에서 이 어플을 많이 사용하게 됐습니다.
Such services are made possible thanks to the commercialization of the Beacon technology. The Beacon technology tracks down the location on a real-time basis by using Bluetooth 4.0, which can detect signals within 50 meters. When a smartphone user approaches, the Beacon system analyzes the person's information and provides the appropriate services.
근거리 위치 인식 기술인 비콘은 사용자가 비콘 단말기에서 내보내는 신호 범위 내에 들어가면 모바일 기기에 비콘 어플리케이션이 이 신호를 인식하고 사용자의 위치를 파악해 특정 정보를 전달해주는 원리입니다.
When a customer with a smartphone passes by the store, the Beacon device provides information on new products or discounts. A customer who enters the store can receive appropriate information on products as he or she browses around. If the customer buys the product that has been advertised, the Beacon technology takes care of the payment without the customer having to pay for it with the cash or credit card at the counter. In comparison with the existing near-field communication or NFC, Beacon doesn't require its user to touch the smartphone to a device or be in a close range to receive service, but only to be in the proximity. Thus, Beacon is considered an extended version of the NFC tag service. The signal is recognized only within 10 centimeters with NFC technology, while with Beacon, it is 500 times wider at 50 meters in radius. Paran Electronics manufactures a Beacon device. It specializes in storage semiconductors production, and now it makes and distributes Beacon devices for commercial use to deliver customized information to smartphones.
현재 비콘에서 가장 많이 사용되는 무선 통신 기술은 블루투스 4.0 방식입니다. 블루투스 로우 에너지라고도 불리는데요. 블루투스 4.0 방식은 배터리 수명에 거의 영향을 끼치지 않은 저전력이 가장 큰 장점입니다.
The smart beacon device, equipped with the ultra-low-power Bluetooth 4.0 radio frequency chip, is made in a size slightly bigger than a quarter, so it can be placed anywhere in a store without being noticed.
단말기 직경은 2.58cm로 500원짜리 동전과 비슷한 크기인데요. 매장 내 인테리어를 크게 해치지 않고 손쉬운 설치가 가능한 것이 장점입니다.
At Panggyo, on the outskirts of southern Seoul, there is Avenue France, a street mall that has introduced a new concept in shopping. As consumers step in the mall, all the related information pops up on their smartphone to inform them of various shopping events and information. The service is operated by SK Planet, and it has installed beacon devices in 25 stores at the mall. Without having to distribute leaflets by hand, it can send out information and promote store events to customers through the OK Cashback or Syrup apps installed on their smartphones.
소비자 입장에서 비콘에서 메시지를 받으면 바로 내 옆에 있는 매장에 가서 그 쿠폰이라던가 이벤트에 바로 참여할 수 있는 거예요. 그래서 소비자에게는 그러한 즉시성이라는 가장 큰 혜택이 있고요. 기업 입장에서는 기업의 마케팅 활동 비용을 굉장히 효율적으로 쓸 수 있다는 장점이 있습니다. 왜냐하면 고객이 메시지를 받고 굉장히 반응률이 굉장히 좋기 때문에 기업 입장에서는 한정된 마케팅 예산을 굉장히 효율적으로 쓸 수 있는 이런 효율성의 이점이 있다고 보실 수 있습니다.
Stores don't need to spend much money but still promote their products while consumers find out about discounts and take advantage of services they didn't know about before visiting. However, there are some tasks to be taken care of. As the beacon uses a push alarm, it constantly sends out information which could be considered spam to some people and become data pollution. Also, the digital payment system that the beacon app uses could be vulnerable to hacking or security breaches.
스마트폰 사용자들은 이동 방향 등 위치를 비교적 정확하게 파악할 수 있기 때문에 개인의 실시간 위치가 드러날 수가 있습니다. 현재 비콘 송신기는 일방향 통신으로만 송신하기 때문에 이용자의 위치를 추적하지 않는다고 하지만 비콘 기술 역시 진화 단계이기 때문에 앞으로 모바일 앱에서 개인정보 수집 활용될 가능성이 충분히 없지 않아 있습니다. 기술의 완벽성 측면에서는 NFC를 대체할 만한 상용화된 전자결제 시스템 기술은 현재 없다 보고 있지만 NFC 기반의 시장의 모델이 어느 정도 자리 잡은 현재 상황에서 미래의 모바일 결제 시장을 선도하는 기술은 NFC와 비콘이 융합된 방식에서 나올 가능성이 가장 큽니다.
With the introduction of beacon technology, marketing and the way of promoting products are changing around the world. But it's only the beginning. By highlighting its benefits and making improvements on problems, beacon technology will be able to create a bigger wave of change.
아직까지는 그 소비자들이 잘 인지하고 있지 않고 또 스마트폰의 모든 스마트폰이 그 비콘 기능을 지원하지 않는 그런 측면도 있습니다. 그런 부분이 현재로서 가장 현실적인 어려움이고요. 그래서 이런 여러 스마트폰이 보급되면서 이제 비콘 기능을 가지게 되는 게 중요하고요. 또 이제 소비자는 그것을 또 사용하는 그런 습성을 이제 가질 수 있게 하느냐 이런 것이 가장 큰 것입니다. 그래서 어디 가면 여기서 비콘 안 주나 하는 그런 캐치, 어떤 비콘 시그널을 캐치하려는 것이 어떤 보통 사람들의 사용 습관으로 정착되느냐 그렇게 되지 않느냐가 가장 큰 관건이 될 거라고 생각합니다.
With the commercial use of the beacon system, related businesses are acting fast. Heated competition looks inevitable in taking the upper hand in using beacon technology.
North and South Korea may have their disagreements, but both of them do have one thing in common. They both practice National Liberation Day. Now, at the same time, the way they celebrate it isn't quite the same, and in fact, North Korea has a different word for the holiday. So, how does North Korea celebrate National Liberation Day? Let's find out.
Gwangbokjeol, or National Liberation Day on August 15th, is a public holiday both in South and North Korea. Before they were bisected into half, Koreans shared the exultation from being liberated from 35 years of colonial rule on August 15, 1945, after Japan was defeated in the Second World War. But since different governments were established in the North and South, the two Koreas until this day commemorate National Liberation Day for completely different reasons. North Korea celebrates the day as Liberation Day of the fatherland, won through bloody struggles by founding father Kim Il-sung, who had fought victoriously against the Japanese.
북한은 이제 8.15 해방을 이제 뭐 김일성의 어떤 업적을 찬양하고 또 김일성의 단독 어떤 일에 의해서 나라가 이제 강복된 것처럼 열왕선전을 하기 때문에 거의 뭐 북한의 8.15는 뭐 김일성 날이죠. 그날은 뭐 김일성에 대한 업적을 기리고 뭐 김일성 동상 참배니 뭐 찬양이니 각종 또 이제 찬양 모임들이 있고 거의 이제 뭐 김일성의 업적을 칭송하는 뭐 그런 날로 이제 행사가 치러지는 것이죠.
The question is, does Kim Il-sung deserve all the accolades as a national hero who has single-handedly and fearlessly fought against the Japanese and liberated the Korean people, as North Korea claims? According to North Korea's revolutionary history, Kim Il-sung raised an armed guerrilla group that fought and defeated the Japanese soldiers. Experts and scholars acknowledge Kim's activities as a freedom fighter.
김일성의 집안은 오늘날 우리 관점에서 보게 되면 민족주의 운동을 했던 집안이에요. 아버지도 그러시고 할아버지도 그러시고 1920년대 중후반 만주 지역의 대표적인 민족주의 운동 단체가 있는데 그건 교과서에도 나옵니다. 그 정의부의 멤버였어요, 아버님이. 그만큼 그런 분위기에서 자랐기 때문에 본인이 항일운동 한다는 것 자체는 상당히 자연스러웠다. 그 과정에서 마침 만주사변이 일어나니까 총을 들고 싸운 거다. 이렇게 이해할 필요가 있고요.
Records show Kim Il-sung joined China's Communist Party in 1931.
중국 공산당의 이 군대가 있습니다. 중국 인민혁명군. 거기에서 동북 항일 연군이라는 게 있습니다. 그것이 1936년에 조직이 되었는데 그 동북 항일 연군에 들어가서 항일 무장 투쟁을 하게 됩니다.
Kim Il-sung fought against the Japanese not as an independent guerrilla fighter, but as a member of a subordinate army unit of China's Communist Party. He was not a general as known in North Korea, but a lower-rank officer in the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army.
김일성이 맡았던 직책이 동북항일연구군 제1로군, 제2군, 제6사장입니다. 그러니까 이제 그렇게 높은 지위는 아니고, 그러니까 장군이라고 불리는 건 거짓말이에요. 장군이 아닙니다. 그래서 김일성이 동북항일연군에서 1로군 6사장을 맡으면서 일본군하고 싸운 것은 분명한 사실입니다. 그러나 그것은 조선 독립운동을 위해서 싸운 것이 아니고 중국 공산당의 항일운동을 위해서 싸운 거예요.
Kim Il-sung is praised as the country's hero that saved and liberated the Korean race. No other names are cited as independence fighters. In a photo that shows Kim Il-sung at the peak of his resistance movement against the Japanese, also has Choi Hyun, father of Choi Ryong-hae, who closely assisted Kim Jong-il and is still active under current leader Kim Jong-un.
최현도 역시 빨치산 투쟁을 했는데 김일성과 함께 했습니다. 최현이 맡았던 그 전투가 해산 전투라는 게 있습니다. 해산 전투가 전과로 보자면은 보천보 전투보다 더 많은 것은 사실이거든요. 그 전과가 더 많았습니다. 그 전투 내용 더 큰 전투였고 사실은 김일성뿐만이 아니고 최현도 무장투쟁을 한 건 사실이고 또 김책도 무장투쟁한 건 사실이고 뭐 이런 이제 그뿐만 아니고 이제 여러 사람들이 있죠. 한 60여 명 정도가 빨치산 투쟁을 한 것은 사실이죠.
But North Korea singles out Kim Il-sung as a legendary war hero, as a part of the propaganda campaign to uphold the Juche ideology that revolves around the cult personality of Kim Il-sung.
김일성만큼 활동한 조선인 항일 유격대의 지도자는 여러 명 있다. 다만 김일성도 그 중에 하나인데 나름 전투를 잘했던 지도자다라고 볼 필요가 있습니다.
Young commander Kim Il-sung began to gain fame after his troop raided Japanese-held town in Bocheonbo across the Korean border near the Tumen River. North Korea calls it the biggest victory against the Japanese in the Korean peninsula since the colonial rule.
보천보 전투라는 것은 이제 김일성이 동북 항일 연군 제1호군, 제2군, 제6사장으로서 일본군과 싸운 전투입니다. 그 보천보 전투의 결과 김일성의 그 부대가 일본 경찰 7명을 사살을 하고 그리고 소총을 노예간 것은 사실입니다. 자, 그런데 북한 선전 당국은 이 보천보 전투가 항일 무장투쟁의 가장 위대한 전투였다라고 자꾸 거짓 날조 선전을 하고 있거든요.
The Pochonbo attack was recorded by local media. It said that a Korean communist bandit from China attacked the Japanese police in a small township of Pochonbo on the border with China and safely escaped the town. Unlikely widely known, the police station Kim Il-sung's band raided was a small outlet. The assault ended briefly.
전투 자체는 만주에서 있었던 다른 항일 유격대의 전투보다 예를 들어서 적을 많이 죽였다든지 부상시켰다든지 이런 성과면에서는 그다지 특별한 건 없어요. 다만 보천보 전투로 그래서 우리가 주목해야 될 거는 김일성이라는 이름이 대중 사이에서 적극적으로 유통되어지는 중요한 계기가 보천보 전투였다라는 것이고.
The North Korean regime has glorified and exaggerated Kim Il-sung's anti-Japanese activities to justify and defend Kim Il-sung's autocratic rule for 49 years. As a result, the Liberation Day took entirely a new meaning in North Korea.
북한은 김일성, 김정일, 김정은으로 이어지는 전체주의 세습 수령 독재 정권을 이어가고 있지 않습니까? 그것을 이어가는 그 명분을 자기들이 항일운동을 했다는 데서 찾고 있습니다. 아무리 항일운동을 하건 독립운동을 했다 하더라도 그것이 60년 넘게 독재를 할 수 있는 명분은 되지 못하지 않습니까? 김일성의 그 과장된 항일 무장투쟁에 대한 사실관계를 정확하게 밝혀내고 그리고 그것을 있는 그대로 알리는 것이 또한 진정한 광복의 의미에 작은 의미라도 있지 않을까 그렇게 생각을 합니다.
The North Korea regime has stolen the historical moment of long-awaited freedom for the Korean people to serve a dictatorial purpose. Colonial invaders left the land 69 years ago, and yet the people there to this day do not know real freedom.
That's all for this week's Bizline. Next week, we're going to take a look at a growing market in toys. Except these toys are not for children. They're for adults. They're a little more sophisticated than what you'd expect and a lot more fun to play with. The people who like them are called kidults, a mixture of the words kid and adult. Now, you might be a kidult if you like comic books, manga, you like playing with toy models, but you might be a little older than the average child who's in elementary school. In that case, don't miss next week because this will really interest you. This is Jeff Kane for Bizline, signing off. Thanks for joining us.